Hey folks, Mav's Dad here with another watch review. I have something really interesting for you today. This is the Reactor Poseidon 1000 meter dive watch, model number 55507. Now this is not a watch that I normally review. This is not a style of watch that I normally review. This thing is massive. It is a big watch, and it's not something that I would normally put on my wrist, but some people like bigger watches. So what we're gonna do is we'll go over the specifications, the fit and finish, and my overall impressions of this Reactor Poseidon. You kind of make up your own mind. Without giving too much away too early, I'm not quite sure if I'm sold on this thing or not, but anyway, we'll take a look at it and see what happens, and you kind of make your own decision. Well, first of all, let's start with the packaging. They did get the packaging right. This is really cool packaging. This is called their Second Life packaging, and what it is this is basically an aluminum can koozie. And it keeps the watch really safe during shipment, and it also functions as a can koozie when you take the watch out and you start using the watch, and you have this cool can koozie for your 12-ounce cans of soda or a beer or whatever you want to put in there. So that's really cool, and I'll show you a little more about that. But you just take the sticker off and you put this in your RV or your boat, and you have a really nice aluminum can koozie. So there you go. So you go ahead and take the base out. It pops out. This is the stand. I'll put that over to the side here. And then you reach inside, and here's the watch. And I'll pull this out. There's the watch. I'll put that to the side for just a second. Inside here is really thick foam. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's really thick foam, and that provides a lot of protection for the watch when it's being shipped. And I guess these little cutouts are for when you actually use this. If you're going to use this as a can koozie. That's for the condensation when your drink gets cold. That's for the water to drain out down there. So anyway, neat concept. I've never seen those two paired, a can koozie and a watch, but it's definitely interesting. So there you go. So there's that. Let's put that over here, put that over there. And this is another part that I really like. The actual watch pillow is made of that same type of neoprene that you would see like if you had a set of boat keys. And it has that little yellow floaty. That's what this stuff is made of. It's real hard, and I think it's neoprene, I believe. Anyway, but it also provides another layer of protection for the watch during shipping. So this combination of this material and the inner foam layer inside this can koozie means if this watch comes to you damaged for whatever reason, it didn't happen at the factory, that's for sure. So this is really interesting. So there you go. Now let's go ahead and get to the watch itself. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold it like this, and I'll put some graphics up on the screen, and I'll give you the basic dimensions of the watch. You're looking at 48 millimeters across, and it's about 51 millimeters to the crown. So 48 millimeters for the case, 51 millimeters to the crown, and then you're looking at about 17 millimeters thick. So it is a big watch. Now I would put this on the wrist, but it's actually not sized right. I would actually have to add a couple links to fit this on my wrist. I mean, I'm a big guy. So, I mean, this watch would look okay on me. It's just a bigger style than I personally like. But anyways, this watch is about as big as Jupiter. This thing is massive. So, and it's about 255 grams. So it's almost half a pound of watch sitting on your wrist, which for me is just too bulky, too big. And part of that, the main reason for that it's waterproof down to 3,300 feet, which is 1,000 meters. So you have to have a really substantial case for that waterproofness. Let's go ahead and get to the other technical specification. It does not have a sapphire glass crystal. At this price point, I'm kind of expecting sapphire. But normally you get sapphire if you'd spend another couple $100s on a watch. Sapphire crystals normally start with watches right around $1,000. It's been my personal experience. But if this retails for about $600 or $700. So sapphire wouldn't kill them to put a sapphire crystal in here. But hey, I guess that's a little cost saving measure on their part. But anyway, so we got 48 millimeters across, 51 millimeters to the crown, a mineral crystal. You do have now the bezel action is very nice. This is probably the best bezel action I have ever seen in a watch. It is incredibly tight, very firm, nice clicking action to it. Really nice bezel. Very impressed with the bezel. Now, the clicking action is one thing, but the actual bezel manufacturer, it leaves a little something to be desired. I mean, these are just screen printed indices. Again, on something this expensive, I would maybe expect some etching instead of just screen printed numbers. The Lume pip is very bright. They do use Luminova, Super Luminova, and I'll do a little test here in a minute to show you how bright it is. It is pretty bright. It's not as bright to me as Seiko's Lume Bright, but it is very bright. So there you go. So there's the bezel. Now you also have an internal bezel. So if you want to go down and dive, and you have 2 dive times that you want to measure, you could use one with the outer bezel, and then you have a screw down crown, and that controls the inner bezel inside the watch. So there you go. So if you're a dive fanatic, this is the watch for you. You can actually have 2 dive times and monitor them independently, because you basically have 2 dive timers, one on the bezel and then one on the internal bezel inside the watch. So that's pretty cool. Both of these crowns are screw down. One's at 2 o'clock, one's at 4 o'clock. Obviously the one at 4 o'clock just controls the day, date, and the time. The case, 316 stainless steel, like I said, very heavy. It does have these incredibly robust spring bars. I mean, these things are like rack and pinion steering on a car. These things are huge. And that leads me to believe this watch would look pretty funny on like a NATO style strap. I mean, it would be like putting, the kitchen sink on a rubber band or something. I mean, this thing is it's really big. But it's very well built. It's very sturdy, very heavy. Another thing about the bracelet that I don't really appreciate are the PVD coated links. I'm not a big PVD person, only because over time that PVD coating is going to scratch off. Even just a normal desk jockey with just normal wear and tear on the watch is going to scratch that at the office. So, I mean, it was just a design aesthetic. They just decided just to have those black links in the middle, just for, I guess, from the design standpoint. Not a big fan. This does come with a dive extension, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Pop this open. I do like the scissor opening on the clasp. I do like this right there. And if you go over here, if you take this and you pop it down, there's your dive extension. Okay. Now another thing about the bracelet, I'm not a big fan of, because of the dive extension, you can only have 2 micro adjustments. Any watch, any dive watch, actually really any watch, I would think, you need to have at least 4 micro adjustments in the clasp. This only has 2, and that is because of the dive adjustment. I'm sorry, for the dive extension. And that dive extension gives you about, if you look at it, it gives you about, that's about 1/2 inch. So you could slide this over a wetsuit if you needed to. So the bracelet itself feels nice. I'm just not thrilled with the design. I'm not thrilled with the only 2 micro adjustments. On a dive watch, I would expect a little bit more. But, you also, the manufacturer has to consider cost and a whole bunch of different factors when designing these things. Let's get back to the rest. Inside is a Japanese Miyota movement. And the only thing that really kind of strikes me odd about this watch is that the movement inside is probably a $20, $30 quartz movement surrounded by $600 worth of metal. And I'd prefer the movement to be of a better quality than all this extra design aesthetic, all this bulky material. I mean, the watch reminds me of an Invicta. And if you've seen any of my other videos, I just don't like Invicta watches. And that's what this reminds me of, a big, gaudy Invicta watch. I mean, it is a well-made watch, but it's just over-engineered. You're protecting $20 worth of electronics with $600 worth of metal. In order for it to be waterproof down to 3,300 feet or 1,000 meters, you have to. But as we all know, nobody is going to ever go that deep. That's just a marketing gimmick. But, hey, some people are going to like it. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. It really just depends. It's really all personal preference. Bigger watches these days are the trend. A 48 millimeter case, that's just a huge case. So, again, that's, it's all personal preference. What else? It does have a 10-year battery. And if you look at the dial, speaking of a 10-year battery, if you look at the dial, you'll see that it says 10-year battery. And you notice that the number 10 is like 2 spaces over too far from the word year. It's like they got the spacing wrong. It just looks odd. Like the number 10 should be closer to the word year down there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it just kind of struck me as odd. Getting back to the face, it is Super Luminova. It's all screen printed on. None of this stuff is applied. And you would think in a watch that costs $600 that you at least have like an applied Reactor logo. Again, it's all just screen printed. Reactor sources their movements from Japan. I think final assembly is in China with final quality checks made in America. But this watch is basically made all over the world, and they kind of quality check it here in America. Not that that's, nothing, there's plenty of fine stuff made in all different countries, but I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. I'd rather have everything made in one spot, sourced from different companies, maybe made in one spot, quality checked in one spot. I don't know. I mean, as you can kind of tell, I'm not really a big fan of this watch, but I don't want to discourage anybody from getting it if you really want to try it out. I mean, if you want a big, beefy dive watch, this is definitely the way to go. I mean, it's got the big yellow face, and they use yellow faces on dive watches for legibility underwater to be able to easily see what time it is or how much time you have left on your air tanks. So, I mean, it is a tool watch. It does have its function, but it's just ridiculously big. I mean, it's just huge. I'm trying to think of anything else I missed. Again, it's a mineral crystal, not a sapphire. I'm trying to think of anything else I missed. Oh, speaking of the bracelet again, the lugs, these are 26 millimeters. And then they taper down to the clasp to 22 millimeters. So again, putting this on a NATO strap, it's just gonna look odd because you're gonna have a huge gap between the lugs because your strap is gonna be sitting almost where the PVD coated links are. I mean, it's a massive watch, and to put it on a NATO strap is gonna make it look really kind of odd. So anyway, but I did say I was gonna do a little Lume test. Let's go ahead and do that now. I'll go ahead and charge it for a couple seconds. And I'm gonna kill the light. Take a look at the Lume. And that's just a couple seconds. So it does have decent Lume. I mean, Super Luminova is used on a lot of watches. It's not going to be as bright as Lume Bright on Seikos. And also there's some Citizens that have really, really bright Lume as well. But it's got decent Lume. I mean, they probably use 2 or 3 coatings on there. So not bad, not bad. So anyways, folks, so that's pretty much it. If you like this video, please click on like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. I love new subscribers, and I'll put a little reminder of that in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. I don't want to discourage you from this watch. I really just want to give you my honest opinion of this Reactor Poseidon. I'm really on the fence about it. It just seems like an awful lot of metal protecting, $20 or $30 worth of circuitry, and it's just, I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Again, some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. Go out there and get one. See what you think. Try it on. Wear it. Any reputable watch dealer is going to have a return policy. So, make up your own decision. Again, this is just not my personal style of watch. But hey, again, it's everything is subjective. So, anyway, folks, that's going to be about it. If you have any questions, comments, please put them in the description, and I will be sure to answer all of those for you. And trying to think if I missed anything. I think that's it. All right. Well, I have a new review coming up next week. That's going to be of the Marathon Automatic. That should be a really cool review. So look forward to that. And until then, this has been the Poseidon 1,000 meter dive watch. And until the next video, talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.